Welcome to For the Sake of Heaviness. My name is Butch Ballich, as always, with.
Merciful Mike. And we've got big news today, don't we, Butch?
This is a very special episode of For the Sake of Heaviness. We want to talk about the fact that Black Sabbath has decided to put a capper on their illustrious career on July 5th at Villa Park in Birmingham, where it all began, man. Birmingham, and with a huge lineup. I mean, this is huge news. It's your four original guys calling it a day.
I
It's pretty
was
insane, man.
I was blindsided by this. I know that there's been very light rumblings and inklings that, things could be going on, whether or not, maybe they were gonna just hang out in the studio and cut a single or something, but I never saw this coming today. Totally
Yeah, I,
totally
I
got me.
yeah, I feel like there were like, last year at different times there was like, you had Ozzy coming out saying he'd like to do one more show, and then Geezer had chimed in at one point that he'd be up for
Yep.
that if the other guys were, and then Tony's like, you'd hear, but then I feel like it kind of quieted for a while,
I
and
did too. Yep, I feel the same way.
the last big piece of news in the Sabbath, other than like the other reissues and stuff like that, like Ozzy being inducted
Yeah,
into the Hall of Fame. So I think what really surprised me is if anyone saw that, which was filmed last year, obviously,
right.
but the shape that Ozzy's in, I'm just curious. I guess my main concern going forward is what we're going to be looking at. I'm sure we're not going to be looking at a full. This isn't. I don't think this will be like the end tour. I can't imagine where it's going to be them performing a 60
No.
minute to 90-minute set. I feel like they'll come out, maybe play like a handful of their biggest hits, Black Sabbath, Paranoid,
Right.
Iron Man, probably wrap it up that. I don't know what to expect. I mean, there's so many ways it can go. The freaking lineup is,
I know.
whether you we can argue about the how mainstream this lineup is or whatever, but the fact of the matter is these are literally like some of the biggest names that there's ever been in metal. I mean, this bill: Metallica,
Yeah.
Slayer, Anthrax, Pantera, Lamb of God, Mastodon, Alice in Chains, Gojira, Hailstorm. That's the one that's a little bit of a head scratcher for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, you talk about like some of the most important bands across that span the years,
Big time.
man. In cross genres, and then you got special appearances of some of them. I see Billy Corgan, Dave Draymond, Duff McKagan,
Yep.
Fred Durst. Again, like just showing the breadth and width of the influence that Sabbath had. So I mean, this is
Absolutely.
a if you're going to go out, I guess this is the you know what a star-studded way to do it, man. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean it ventures right across the spectrum as far as, different types of music and bands that are participating. I guess I'm a little confused here. I'm with you. I'm looking at the lineup on here too. And to me, just by reading this, now of course, the internet was just very alive today with all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of, theories and what everybody's thinking, but this kind of has vibes to me of something similar to like the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, where you
Mm-hmm.
had, all kinds of different bands and special performances by different artists and things like that. Obviously it's different because the four original Sabbath guys are going to be together playing. I
Right.
too, I kind of, I don't see them playing much more than five, maybe six songs, and Ozzy's doing a solo set as well, it seems. So I just, it says Black Sabbath with and Ozzy separately. And I mean, did I read this on here or did I read it today on the internet? Jakey Lee's going to be there. So, I'm thinking, okay, Bark at the Moon, or, it just leaves the doors wide open. You can really let the imagination flow today because it could be,
Yeah,
it could be any
I guess
plethora of things could happen.
one of the things is I guess it's hard to wrap your head around because we don't. I mean, without knowing the health of these guys, I mean, it was like when they
Yeah.
did when they did the end tour back in 2016, 2017,
Hmm.
they were talking about then. I mean, there was the whole big deal about Ward
Yep.
not doing it, and the talk was that his health wasn't really good. But Bill had come out just within the last year and was like, he's like, I'm in pretty good health for being 76. I could tell
Yeah.
you that I play music every day, and
Yep.
so
And the
it
pictures that
just
he's
begs
posted, he looks good. He looks healthy.
yeah. I
The
mean,
last couple I've seen, he seems to have, slimmed down and he looks pretty darn good. So I would think he would have the stamina to be able to pull off four, five, six songs.
yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt. Like you could tell Geezer's still in. He retired of his own. He just didn't
Right.
want to. He was ready to step down from it. But I think he seems to be in for guys that are like, Ward is 76, Iommi's 76, Ozzy's 76, and Bill
Right.
is Geezer 75. Um, I mean, I guess my again, I without knowing Ozzy's state, I don't know. He was sitting in that
Yeah.
throne thing. Like, is that something? I guess that could be an option. Wheel him out on the throne, and he could certainly sing sitting down. I mean,
Sure.
I don't know how powerful his voice will be. I don't. It's funny. I I went back and over the last couple months, actually, I was watching some of that concert that they filmed in Birmingham from the final show.
Hmm.
Um, and I actually didn't think Ozzy sounded like, for all the guff that he gets and that we give him, the stick we
Yeah.
give him sometimes. I mean, he was never like a great live singer, let's be honest.
Right. Right.
But I didn't think he sounded too bad back then, but this is 7 years later, and he just doesn't look like he's in great health.
No, it's
I get,
almost it's sad and a little bit surprising just how quickly his health has deteriorated over the last 7, 8 years. He was on stage with no problem, with the reunion shows and the fun, the end tour, and then man, he just seemed to kind of, have a rapid downfall there. And I think that's the biggest thing that worries me because now there's such a gigantic expectation for this, especially knowing that it's the original four and Bill is back. And I know
mm-hmm,
that the focus, health wise of any member, was on Bill quite a bit, but now it's shifted over to Ozzy. And we've all seen the condition he's in, in these pictures of him hobbling with a cane, and we know he's got Parkinson's. And I just, I feel for the guy for, lack of something else to say. I really feel for
mm-hmm.
him. And I worry that if this doesn't somehow come off, even minimally well, man, they're just going to get hammered for it. And I don't want to see that happen, especially with a band like Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, man. It's a tough topic. No one wants to see. We don't want to see a band. You don't associate a band like Sabbath with things like augmenting what's going on stage to get through a show. I mean,
Yeah,
we went through this with Kiss. We
absolutely.
go through it with other bands, and at the same time, I'm kind of like, for me, like obviously, I would much prefer to hear a singer like do their own thing on stage. Something like this, though, I would love it if he came out and sang. Like, honestly, I don't care if he comes out and sings and doesn't sound good if he just tries. This
No,
is really
I'm
a,
totally,
a
totally okay with
celebration
that.
of their
Yes.
career. The flip of that is too, like, if they come out and they help him out too. I mean, again, and I'm not saying that's what they're planning to do. We're just throwing
Right.
theories out there. If they augmented him somehow, that dude is 76. I mean,
Right.
they're just
Nobody
it's a
can escape
celebration
the
to go out
age.
on. They want to like make it make it right, so to speak, and go out with those four. That's how they came in. They
Right.
changed metal. They changed the face of music. Um, however they do it, whatever they got to do, it's going to sound good. I think it's going to sound great. Like, I think Iommi, Geezer, and I have confidence that Bill is going to, especially if they do a shortened set or whatever.
Right.
I can't imagine that those three are going to be any less than totally locked in and ready to go.
Do you
So
do you think
whatever
they're
they
gonna
got to
go the
do, I mean, what we're doing at this show. I mean, not that I'm going to be there, but good.
I kind of wonder, as I look at the set list, or not the set list, but who's playing. If I look at the bill, I kind of am wondering, okay, is there going to be special guests performing with Black Sabbath? Is Ozzy going to be doing like a little bit more of a duet thing here and there with some friends? Is Bill going to come out and only play a couple songs and then they'll switch in? I don't know if they're going to play musical musicians here or how that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't. There's so much to. There's so many things we could. I mean, it
There's a ton to digest
just
here.
that there's not a lot of info yet other than this long list, and it's like you see all these musicians, and that's I was thinking that earlier. Mike was, especially seeing like Corgan, Draymond.
Yeah,
Um, when you got different singers, you got to wonder if maybe they're gonna maybe the three guys will. I don't know. Maybe those guys will play, and they'll have like different, like you said, different people come up and play with them. I would hope
right.
there's going to be a dedicated portion of the set that is just
I would think they
and
have to. They
and
have
it
to
would
do
have to
that.
be it has to be the last thing we hear that night.
Yeah,
It has to be just those four guys together, um playing, even if they only play one song
right,
together. The bottom line is, at the end of that show, at the end of that festival, it has to be those four guys, just the four of them, no one else on the stage with them. I think is the would be the only appropriate way to end it.
right.
Whatever they do before then, however they arrange the sets. I mean, if they're doing 20-minute, like like you said, like with the Queen thing, if bands are going to be shuffling on and off,
Right,
kind of
right.
like a live. I mean, this if this goes all day. I mean, this isn't an outlandish number of bands. It's when you get into the like these guest artists. I don't know, but
That's
it
what I'm having a
you
hard
could.
time wrapping my head around. I'm not sure how they're going to utilize all these special guests. I don't know if they're like, MCs where they come out and they're going to, maybe it's going to be a little bit of a walk down memory lane. Maybe there's going to be screens and different, stock footage and they talk about things. I don't know. I've literally been thinking about this all day on how is this going to get pulled off. And the way that I'm looking at this playbill is, underneath, Black Sabbath and Ozzy, I'm sure Metallica is going to play a sizable set, as is Slayer and Pantera and everybody else. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, this is easily an all dayer. So, and I
Yeah, and
mean,
I want.
this has got pay-per-view written all over it too.
Oh, for sure. You'd wonder too, like something that you could see conceivably happening at this is similar to what happened at your own festival, really, where you had the Sabbath thing going. Is maybe like
Oh
during
yeah,
these band sets, conceivably it'd be cool if they would each play, like maybe they'll maybe to to
sure.
to show their affection for Sabbath, and and what they've learned from Sabbath, and appreciation. Maybe they'll play, maybe that's some of these extra artists will come swinging out to join. It's hard to picture though, like just me being me being a singer, like, and knowing the whole LSD, lead singer disease thing. You would hope that bands would play nice, but sometimes you can't always tell, like, if a band's gonna really want someone to come out and
Right.
share the stage. If you're Metallica or Slayer, you're not going to have Fred Durst. You're not going to want Durst
Yeah.
coming out on stage
Right.
jamming in to sing Sabbath with you when you got guys that could do it
Yeah. Well,
themselves. But
I
that'd
know
be a
I don't
cool
want to see
idea.
that. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these bands have covered Sabbath songs, so I mean,
Yeah, it's not a far
Metallica's done it.
stretch to think that they could do something like that. It's maybe it's a little bit more of small tribute sets that these bands do in honor of Sabbath. Yeah, I know this could go a million different directions.
Um, what do you think? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk. Um, I mean, the different ways to approach this are, obviously, we're talking about the it's not the furthest thing from my mind, but certainly the topic of is what do you think? Is this a cash grabby kind of thing? Or, I mean, I don't know how much money you'd make. Surely on a bill like this with these names, it's a
Well, I would hope not. I mean, anytime that, Sharon Osbourne's involved in anything, people
yeah.
start to talk. But I mean, I guess I'm speaking more from the angle of Tony and Geezer. I would hope that there's some integrity to this. And I know that there was a picture of Tony and Sharon posted today where they're holding up the jerseys. So
Yeah.
maybe it's water under the bridge a little bit. Maybe they've made some amends and they're doing this, for the right reasons. And I know that
Yeah.
there was a lot of talk today that, this is full stop for Ozzy. This is absolutely it. And he never really had that chance to, say goodbye. There was tours planned and there was some shows planned. I think he was going to play that Power Trip Festival and, everything
Mhm.
fell through. So it was kind of an abrupt end to his solo career, so to speak. So yeah, I would think that this is coming from the right place, from the heart, full of integrity and doing it the right way.
That's what I would lean towards too, for sure. And I feel like obviously I don't know any of the guys in this band or anyone close to the band, but I'd like to think, just from the sense that I get from reading their biographies and what we've learned about them over the years is that I don't know. I do feel like that these are four guys that appreciate what they had together,
Yeah,
and it's we can't. The idea of our mortality is not something that we can avoid for long. When
yeah,
you're a kid, you don't think much about it. The older you get, I mean, I just turned 54. I find myself more and more, and I'm still 20 plus years away from the age these
yeah,
guys are. So you got to be thinking like this is like their, you have to do it. Now, if
yeah,
they're gonna do it, they've been talking about, well, maybe we could do this. Would it be cool to go out? You have to do it now.
yeah.
The closer you get to like once you get to, you know, you can't do
Yeah.
like what they're doing to poor Frankie Valli. And I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen videos of that. They're
oh, that's
pushing that poor
awful.
bastard out on the stage, and he's totally like
That's elder
he's
abuse right there.
yeah. They just have a tape going, and he's just like
Yeah,
barely moving his lips. And
yeah,
um, I think these guys want to go out with their and I don't know that it means the end of playing live for a couple of them, but I think certainly for Sabbath, like, and for Ozzy, like you said,
yeah,
I think this is a great way for him to go out. And certainly his health isn't good, and I feel like that's why it's coming up now, and
yeah.
rather than later, this is the time to do it. And I mean, maybe some, it'd be great to find out that he's doing better
Yeah, I
than he
think
has been. But
they've kind of come to terms with the
76
fact
is it's getting up there for anyone.
yeah, it is. And you can't escape the age, and I'm really hoping that people, no matter how this show will come off, I'm really hoping people are forgiving in case things don't come off, to everyone's expectations. Because yeah, these guys are all in their 70s. It's you get to a point where you cannot operate on the level you used to in your 20s and 30s and 40s. It just doesn't happen. But for these guys to say, "Hey, let's go out one more time." I think they've come to terms with the fact that, Ozzy's at a place where, like you just said, if we don't do it now, I don't know if it's going to happen ever. So we're in a place now where we can still conceivably pull this off and do it well. So let's do it. Um, so for that fact, I hope people realize that and are forgiving no matter how this comes out. I think
Yeah,
it's a
I mean,
treat. I think we should all be pretty goddamn happy that we're getting that final, all original. All the naysayers that were so upset Bill wasn't involved in the last run. Here it is. This is for
no
you.
Bill Ward, no Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. I mean, you have to be. I mean, if you have any sense of common sense, I mean, you understand that except for freaks of nature like Tom Jones or um, Glenn Hughes, like at a certain point, you just have to, people have to realize, like you said, the average age of the band is just
Yeah.
76 over. They're all at that age, so it's like you're not going to go to this concert. I mean, this concert is, again, it's just a coming together to celebrate. It's like, if you had an anniversary party for your grandparents,
Exactly.
it's their 50th anniversary. You're not going to like go in and bitch that they don't dance the way that they used to, or,
Right. Right.
it's like, this is just like, these dudes coming on stage and being there. It's the experience of being there to see them like go out on their own free will instead of being
Yeah.
forced out, and to, for them, a chance to like show their I mean, to do it in Birmingham is, I know that they ended the last tour in Birmingham too, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you have to do it in Birmingham. Um,
You know what I did
yeah,
find somewhat strange though, as I'm looking through this, list of people performing and being in Birmingham. You know who's oddly not
Judas
on there?
Priest is not on the
What
bill.
the hell?
I thought about
Unless,
that too, man.
yeah, unless that's going to be
Halford
like
even.
a
I mean, with
surprise.
the Sabbath connection there, like, maybe it'll be announced at a later point. It would be certainly be fitting for Priest to
Yeah.
be on that bill, or
I
for
mean,
Halford to be a part of.
yeah, yeah. At the very least, you think Halford would be mentioned on there, but it's like big
Yeah,
brother, little brother scenario with those two. So yeah, I was kind of like, where's Priest, man? That's like tailor made for this. You know?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing with like, I mean, the way that it is in the music world, though, especially on the when you get up to that level, it's like everything gets so worked out so far in advance now that we
Yeah,
don't know what, maybe we don't know what Priest's plans were for the. For all we know, they could have something booked that they're not ready to announce yet, that
yeah.
doesn't
Schedule
start,
conflict. Yeah,
that hasn't been announced yet, that causes a conflict there. But you would think that Halford would be involved somehow. But yeah, man. I mean, just to get back to, I think you, I think people will go in with an open mind and just realize what this is. I mean, people at the end of the day, I don't know anyone that was people went to those Final Kiss concerts at Madison Square Garden and they weren't going expecting Paul to sound
right,
sterling. They were going because they love the bands and it was the last chance to see them
right, right,
um, play in that manner. And it'll be the same here. I don't think anyone's going to be going to this concert under any illusions that it's not like a band that's still touring. This is a special event
right.
kind of thing.
And I think people should be thankful too. Speaking on that Kiss angle, and I know you were right there with me too. That final show, we were all on the edge of our seat, just waiting for Ace and Peter to come out, which never happened, and that left me, pretty bitter. But here you go. You're getting exactly what you want here. You're getting those four original from Sabbath. So that right there is a gift, and we should just all be happy with that right there. End of story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think I think people will be cool about it. You're always going to have your naysayers
Yeah.
out there. People are going to be, oh, they didn't sound like they did in 1970 when I saw them at the Fillmore
Yeah.
with the Edgar Winter Group and Donovan,
Right.
and
I guess there's one thing too I was kind of pondering today too is I hope if you're actually there, I hope you are getting, more of the actual, raw organic experience. And I hope they sound that way too. If they decide to, pay-per-view this, which I can't imagine that they wouldn't, I'm just kind of worried that they're going to auto-tune Ozzy to death on there. And I guess I
Mhm.
can sort of understand that from a streaming aspect and a pay-per-view. You've got the chance to make him sound crystal clear just like he did on, whatever album. But I really live if you're there, I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. Hope that's not the case.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, I like I said earlier, I would just prefer authentic, even if he doesn't sound good. I mean, I'm not
Yeah, me too.
expecting him to sound great. I'm not expecting him to come out and hit all the notes and
Right.
to sing like he did on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, or so.
Sure.
I'm expecting him to come out and just do the best he can and um,
I think he
appreciate it
knows.
for
I think he
what it
knows his.
is. I'm
Yeah, I think he knows his limitations. I was really happy with his performance on the end tour. The set list I think was pretty carefully picked and everything, and you weren't getting
Mhm.
those huge Ozzy shrieks and everything, and he played within his limits, and they tuned a little differently and for whatever they needed to, and I thought they sounded fantastic. So
Yeah, man. I think those things are key, man. Just pacing and song choice. I mean, you don't have to play. They have so many songs to pick from. I mean, you don't have to play. There's going to be, there's always going to be a boober that's like, they didn't. Why didn't they play "Hole in the
Yeah.
Sky"? Why don't they play something like that? Or what? No,
Exactly.
why aren't they playing "Swinging the Chain" tonight? Like Bill Ward could sing "Swinging the Chain," or "Where's Johnny Blade?" Or
Exactly.
"All Moving Parts Stand Still" wasn't played. I demand a refund.
Oh, they said they were playing Too
I'll be
Many
happy with,
Lies, man.
yeah, as long as they don't do Rock and Roll Doctor, I'll be okay.
I think I'm with you on that too. Well, I guess we're gonna have to wait till July and
But I
kind
think
of,
they'll be well prepared. I mean, certainly something like this.
yeah. Well, like you said, they
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
had this in the works for a long time. I'm sure the wheels have been in motion way longer than you and I realize. So, you
it's
know,
amazing they kept it that quiet. A lot of times this kind of shit leaks, but
yeah, this was
you
just,
know, I'm sure there's a lot of CDAs in place,
oh, for
not
sure.
and NDAs in place on this. So
Yeah,
um,
without a doubt.
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting what news comes out between now and then, like what we find out about it, and to see it all. Obviously, I won't be there anyway. Maybe you'll be there, and you could do a special report from the scene.
Don't count on
This is Mike
that.
Smith reporting from the Black Sabbath final show. I'm the middle of 55,000 sweaty, dirty, farting hippies.
The smell of weed and BO is overwhelming right now.
Yeah, there's 32 Hawkwind t-shirts. I've counted 6 Cathedral t-shirts and 1 Britney Spears throwback.
Oh, there's a couple of Swifties in attendance here today. Yeah, that would be the shit if I ended up going to that, but that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I mean that's pretty cool though. I feel I'm very happy for those local Birmingham people that can get in there and see the hometown heroes, put it away the right way.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean, good for them, man. I mean, um, I think it's awesome that the four of them were able to make it work so that they can the last memory,
it's a good one.
of
Yeah.
the band on stage is those four dudes um, going out and doing it together, however it comes together and goes off. And they fucking it's taken for granted in a lot of ways now because we're so far away from the origin point of it all. But they really like
Yeah.
they change so
Everything.
much, and and I think if people that you know, I don't. It's not an age thing or whatever. It's just if you've studied music, whether you're 54 or 72 or you're 21 or 14, like if you've looked
Right.
into the history and you know what was going on, like you just know how monumental
Yeah.
what Sabbath did
Yeah, their
is
influence
to
continues to just transcend everything. They are part of the fabric of music forever. There's always going to be something you can trace back to Sabbath.
for sure. I mean, it's like them and there's them the before them the Beatles and the Stones, and then
Hmm.
Sabbath and Zeppelin. I think to a lesser extent Deep Purple.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's a conversation for another day. I think they're obviously one of the big three, so to speak. There, I just feel like their influence hasn't had the same legs that like Sabbath and
yeah,
Zeppelin has had for whatever reason.
yeah.
But still, giants and still up there. I'm not saying that they weren't as important,
Right.
certainly to the changes we saw in music. I'm just saying like this Sabbath is
Yeah. That's the top of the upper echelon.
yeah. I mean, it's huge. So I think and I think again, I think it's fitting that these bands like I might not personally be like the number one fan of every one of these, but I mean this is like a packed.
Yeah,
It's like supercharged lineup. I mean, you don't get much. I don't know how much bigger you could get than that. It's pretty much like the
no, it's a
Absent
who's who.
Priest. yeah, an absent Priest, and of course we know Maiden's not going to be there. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, it's like from from all time,
Yeah,
from
it's
the '80s up till now, like the bands that grew up with this stuff, and like you yeah, even up to like Gojira, like who are
right.
the big, super big right now.
I
And
guess you
still,
can say that Priest might be, represented by KK since he's going to be there. And maybe that's why the rest of them aren't joining. I know that, there's still bitterness between them. I'm glad to see that, Wolfgang Van Halen will be there because, there's a lot of ties with, Van Halen open for Sabbath quite a bit.
yeah,
So
for
it's,
sure.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It does.
I'm
It covers all the bases here.
I'm interested. I'm interested now that talking about some of these people, like the Jake thing. I think is interesting based on
Yeah.
the kind of like the some of the stuff years about Sharon and um I think it's cool that he's there, but it's like I guess I didn't expect that. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like it was conspicuously his name was conspicuously absent from
Yeah.
Jack Black's speech and Ozzy's thank yous and Bob Daisley and those guys. So it's cool if there's been a thawing there because Jake was important to
Yeah.
Ozzy's career and Ozzy arguably not arguably it's inarguable that he launched um
Oh, absolutely.
Jake into his what career he's had. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I think it's great that he's going to be there, and I think it's great if they've worked it out, and if they're treating him well, and if they've patched things up. I don't know. Maybe they've we don't ever see the full thing. Those dudes could be. You hear all the time about guys that supposedly don't get
Yeah.
along that well, but then you hear over the years that they talk all the time. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't. I'm not an insider, so I'm just a nerd, a chubby 54-year-old nerd.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, from Pittsburgh, talking to a nerd from Wisconsin.
Don't get much more nerdy than that.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I guess that's our 2 cents, and we would love to know what all of you are thinking about this big reunion of sorts. The original four Black Sabbath together again this July 5th. It's That's something to look forward to. So hit those comments. Tell us what you think. There's so many different opinions and theories and everything floating around today. It's crazy. So let us know. We'd love to see what some of you guys think. And as always, like and subscribe.
definitely.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, and tell your friends,
Tell all your
and have
friends.
them tell two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's an old one.
It
All the
is.
old people in the crowd are going to know that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this special edition of For the Sake of Heaviness, dedicated to Black Sabbath. Until next time, we will
Sabbath
see you all on the very next episode of For the
for the
Sake
sake
of
of
Heaviness.
heaviness.
And we continue to botch the ending. Yes. All right.
We always will.
Yeah. Butch.